Hello and welcome to a special circumstances review. It's going to be a fairly brief video overview of the current product that we're looking at today, which is actually going to be what I am wearing. And this is the Aught Design Ranger Hoodie. This is their fleece hoodie. This is made out of 10-ounce Windpro fleece, so it's an almost windproof fleece. No membrane, just basically a dense weave, which means it actually breathes surprisingly well for something that's almost entirely windproof. So this particular design has been out for several years. I couldn't even begin to speculate how long, but it's been quite a few, and it's seen continuous upgrades and improvements throughout that time. This is their latest iteration of it, and I'm a pretty big fan of this jacket actually. It has a ton of pockets for one thing. So let's go over the various pockets. So you have your forearm pocket here, which arguably for me that's probably been the least useful one. My phone is just a little bit too big to actually fit inside, so I don't use it much, and I usually use a wallet for whatever IDs and stuff I have. But I'm sure some people will find this eminently useful. You also have your typical bicep pockets here, one on each side, lined with a brushed mesh, and you have a D-ring attachment inside here, which it's going to be hard to show you, and there's also a media port in there, and we'll cover some. I'll show you what media ports are actually all about here in a little bit. Of course, you have your two chest pockets here. These are set up high so they clear any pack belts, waist belts, stuff like that, which makes it pretty well suited for actually carrying a pack. Especially for a longer trip, you actually can still use your pockets here. Again, they're lined with brushed mesh. You have in each pocket, this is identical on the other side, you have a little pen pocket like this, just a little sleeve basically. It's fairly generous, so you can put a large pen in there, you can put various narrow gadgets and stuff like that. Even a skinny flashlight would actually fit in that. You also have, as I was mentioning before, this is something you see in all the pockets basically, except for the rear pocket. You have this little D-ring attachment. It is very handy for clipping in your keys or any other small pieces of gear that you don't want to lose. And it's fairly well attached with a piece of webbing here and stitched in. And then of course you also have your media ports. And I don't know if you can see this, but unlike previous generations, this particular media port here is actually just a cutout and then stitched hole in the lining or in the actual pocket liner. I really like this because it's extremely elegant. There's no added bulk. You can't feel that it's there. Some of the previous ones they use like rubber gaskets, and those can get kind of bulky and they're kind of annoying, especially for a relatively sleek garment otherwise. So these big pockets here, even the bicep pockets, actually work fairly well for venting. You really notice a huge difference in just breathability of the garment when you open these up. And that's saying something because Windpro, as a general rule, really breathes extremely well. Lastly, you have this sort of hunter's pocket or duck pocket. You sometimes see something similar on bicycle garments. You see like bike jerseys and stuff like that will have a similar pocket. It's a fairly large pocket, so it's suitable for more bulky items. You can put maps in there, you can put your hat, gloves. I like doing that when I go inside. Just take my hat off and put it inside that. It's very convenient for that, and it tends to be out of the way. Depending on your pack and so on, where the belt is, it may or may not be suitable for really heavy use while you're wearing a big pack. Day-to-day use, smaller, lighter packs that sit up higher on your back, you shouldn't have any issues. All the zippers are YKK reverse coil zippers, so they are wind resistant, and they all use a little gross grain ribbon as the zipper pull. Another outstanding feature of the Ranger hoodie is actually the hood. Now the hood is that's one of their hallmarks. And what's interesting with it is that without actually doing a whole heck of a lot of mucking about with it, it lays mostly flat when you're not using it. At the same time, you zip up all the way and you really have kind of a nice kind of a seal around your neck. You wear a scarf underneath and it's just not an issue at all. It's not an adjustable hood. What's interesting about it is you wear it like this, it stays in place pretty well. It follows the movements of your head extremely well, especially if you're wearing even a thin hat like I am right now. My main complaint about the hood would be that it actually has a tendency to get sort of turned inside out and kind of looks a little dumb if I'm not paying attention to that, but minor detail really. You also have thumb holes. I'm a big fan of these. They work really, really well with gloves, especially when it's really cold and windy. If you're out hiking somewhere, it's kind of nice. I don't like it so much for if I'm really using my hands a lot, doing a lot of like gathering firewood or stuff like that. Mostly because the bolt can get kind of irritating, and also tends to get, you know, the fleece will pick up a lot of dirt and stuff, and that's kind of annoying. One possible feature that could be added in the future for this palm area might actually be just a thin layer of cordura, like 200, 300 denier, maybe even 500 denier cordura patch right there, or even a stretch soft shell material or something similarly abrasion resistant. That might actually not be a bad upgrade. Other than that, it's probably one of my favorite jackets right now. I use it for a wide range of temperatures just by varying whatever I wear underneath. This is the heavy 10 ounce Wind Pro. They also make a lighter version, which is I believe like 8 ounce. This feels pretty good to me. It's very, very wind resistant and breathes extremely well, which is actually one of the reasons I'm not necessarily a big fan of these laser cut vents here. I don't know that they're necessary. Mostly because also if you have your arms down, most of us don't walk around like this all the time, so they don't really get to do much as far as moving moisture. So kind of indifferent about those. I could take them or leave them, honestly. Any other issues with this that I can think of? I would like to see perhaps a little more material directly behind the zipper. In very cold conditions, you kind of do get a little bit of a cold bridge there. Nothing major. You wear any kind of heavier mid layer and you really don't feel it much. But it's something to be aware of and keep mind of. I will say that the vast majority of manufacturers do not take that into account, and they probably should, just to, you know, for completeness sake, if nothing else. Other than that, you're looking at $239 for this directly from Aught Design. The interesting thing about this is that this garment is entirely made in the U.S. You're talking about Polar Tech fleece, which is made in the U.S., and it's sewn in California. For $240, that's almost unheard of. I mean, none of the big names do that. Arc'teryx doesn't do it. Martin Howard doesn't do it. You know, none of these really large companies really do this. It's all made in Vietnam, China, the Philippines, places like that. This is actually a U.S.-made garment for under $250, and the quality is just impeccable. The construction, and just the construction quality in general, is just really, really good. Seams are clean, everything is reinforced, the materials are top-notch, and nobody else is doing this. So this is something that you really can get away with wearing almost anywhere. It comes in black, comes in a tan. The black is probably a little bit more civilian friendly. I'm belligerent enough to where I wear something like this, which is their UE gray, which is more like a foliage green, also because it actually fits in fairly well with my local environment here. And you can also get it without the Velcro. I got the Velcro one because, you know, I like cool guy patches. because I'm totally high speed and such. But it comes in just a completely plain one that just has the pockets, no Velcro. That's probably going to fit in fairly well for most people's wardrobes. And even better, they even make a women's version of it, which is in the same price range, made from the same materials, and actually cut for a woman's body. So I'd strongly recommend you guys check out Aught Design at tripleaughtdesign.com. Not cheap stuff, but I think it's worth it, and you know, it's an American company, so even better, right? Thanks for watching. There's going to be a lot more detail, a lot more pictures of the various little details that sort of make this garment stand out. So check that out on the blog. The link is going to be below this video. And thanks for watching. Have a great day.